All right, let's get right into it. We are not just talking about another AI that can, write an email or make a funny picture. We're talking about creating a kind of digital life. Agents that don't just do things, but they remember their past, they reflect on what they've learned, and they actually plan for the future. Welcome to the absolutely fascinating world of generative agents.
So just look at this for a second. It might seem like a cute little video game, but what you're seeing is something, well, revolutionary. These characters you see, they're living their own lives, sharing news, forming relationships, spreading rumors, and get this, nobody is controlling them. They are completely autonomous. So the big question is, how?
And maybe the most amazing example of this all came together in the form of a party, a Valentine's Day party that no one programmed. Nobody told them to do it. It just emerged. This is the perfect showcase of what the researchers call emergent social behavior. And here's the kicker. This whole complex social event, with all its invitations and plans and decisions, it all started from one tiny little seed. A researcher gave just one agent, Isabella, the simple idea that she wanted to throw a party. That's it. That was the only human instruction in the whole thing. From there, the idea just spread like wildfire. Isabella didn't just wait for instructions, she started telling her friends at the cafe about her party idea. And then those friends went off and told their friends. You can literally see the web of communication spreading out, completely on its own, just like gossip in any small town. And the best part? It actually worked. When Valentine's Day rolled around, 5 of these agents remembered the invitation, they coordinated their own schedules, and they showed up to the party. One agent, Maria, even decided the party was the perfect opportunity to ask her crush, Klaus, on a date. And he said yes, they went together. All of it happened without any human intervention. Which, of course, brings us back to that massive question. How in the world do you build an artificial mind that's capable of doing all that? Of remembering a casual invitation, forming relationships, and coordinating social plans? Well, let's pop the hood and see how it works. So the entire experiment went down in this virtual town, aptly named Smallville. You can think of it as a digital sandbox, a place where these new forms of artificial life could just live and be observed. And the residents of Smallville are these generative agents. At their core, there are software programs designed to simulate believable human behavior. But the key, the secret sauce, is how they do it, by remembering, reflecting on, and planning from everything they experience. Here's the town map. You've got your houses, a cafe, a park, a college, the whole shebang. And it's home to 25 unique agents. Each one was started off with just a single paragraph describing who they are. John Lynn is a pharmacist, Isabella Rodriguez runs the cafe. They start with these little seeds of identity, and then they just grow from there. So how does an agent like Isabella or John actually think? Well, their entire artificial mind is built on 3 core components, or pillars, that all work together to create this incredibly believable, continuous existence. And these 3 pillars are really intuitive. First, you have the memory stream, which you can think of as a perfect lifelong diary. Second is reflection, which is how they turn those diary entries into actual wisdom. And third is planning, which is basically their dynamic, constantly evolving to-do list. The absolute foundation of everything is the memory stream. It is a complete record of everything an agent experiences, stored in plain English. Every conversation, every action, every internal thought is saved. Isabella is making coffee. Klaus is reading a book. John talked to his son Eddie about his grades. It all gets logged in the diary. But a perfect memory is useless if you can't find what you need, right? An agent can't just scroll through its entire life story every second. So instead, when it needs to make a decision, it pulls up relevant memories based on 3 key things. Recency, what just happened. Importance, was this a major event like a breakup? And relevance, how much does this memory relate to what I'm doing right now? Now, just having memories isn't enough to seem human. You need to learn from them. That's where the second pillar, reflection, comes in. This is kind of where the magic happens. The agents will periodically look back on their recent memories and basically ask themselves, what are the big takeaways here? This is how they generalize, inform higher-level thoughts and opinions. And this is a perfect example of how that works. At the bottom, you have these simple, low-level memories. Klaus is reading articles. Klaus is talking to a librarian. Through reflection, those get bundled into a higher-level thought like, Klaus spends a lot of time reading. Eventually, that leads to a core belief he has about himself. Klaus Mueller is highly dedicated to research. He didn't start with that belief. He learned it about himself by observing his own actions.
And finally, we have the third pillar, planning. An agent takes its memories and its reflections, like Klaus knowing he's a dedicated researcher, and uses them to create a high-level plan for the day. Something like, okay, today I'll wake up, work on my research paper for a few hours, then grab dinner. This gives their lives structure and purpose, so they aren't just wandering around aimlessly.
Okay, so you've got this really sophisticated architecture with memory, reflection, and planning. It all sounds great on paper, but does it actually work? Does it create behavior that a real human would find believable? Well, to find out, the researchers ran a controlled experiment. They basically interviewed the agents and asked them questions, then had human judges rate how believable the answers were. And the results were super clear. The full three-part architecture was consistently rated as the most believable. And every time they took a piece away, like getting rid of reflection or planning, the believability score dropped. Every single piece of this puzzle is crucial. But, being good in an interview is one thing. The real acid test was seeing if these individual agents, when you put them all together in a town, could create something bigger than themselves. Could they produce those complex social behaviors, like the party, that emerge naturally from just a bunch of simple individual interactions? And the results were honestly stunning. After just 2 simulated days, 52%, over half the town, had heard about Isabella's party. That's 13 out of 25 agents. The information spread organically to more than half the population with zero top-down control. That is the very definition of true emergent behavior. So what does all this mean for the future? Well, a technology this powerful obviously has incredible promise, but it also comes with some pretty serious risks that we need to think about. I mean, on the one hand, the potential is huge. Imagine non-player characters in video games that actually live their own lives and remember you between play sessions. Or think about powerful new tools for social scientists to test out theories about society. You could prototype complex systems or even create personalized computing that truly understands and adapts to your daily life. But on the other hand, the researchers themselves are quick to point out the dangers. There's a real risk of people forming unhealthy, one-sided relationships with these agents. They could be used for incredibly tailored persuasion or even spreading misinformation. And of course, these systems will inherit all the biases from the language models they're built on. We have to be really, really careful with how we move forward. And that leaves us with one final, pretty deep question to think about. As we create these digital friends who can not only talk to us, but remember us and build relationships with us and grow alongside us, what parts of ourselves will we want them to hold on to? And what will we want them to let go of and forget?